One day, you wake up and realize the world has turned black and white. Nothing tragic happened. The sun still rises, coffee still has a smell, the clock still works. But something inside you has detached from life. Things keep existing. They just seem to exist without you. You carry out tasks, reply to messages, laugh at the right moments, but everything sounds like dubbing. And the cruelest part is that nobody notices. You can be dying inside and still hear, "You look great." It's almost funny. Society applauds those who manage to hide their own collapse. Maybe that's what few understand. Burnout doesn't arrive screaming. It infiltrates like mold. It covers the walls of consciousness until breathing itself feels like too much effort. That's where the dangerous thought is born, not as an explosion, but as a whispered question. What if I didn't need to continue? This question is not an anomaly. It is the exact point where a collapsing brain tries to negotiate with its own pain. What you feel is not weakness. It is biology. It is history. It is the result of everything a human body can endure before giving in. Today's video is not about cheap hope. It is about the truth nobody says. Sometimes continuing to live feels like an offense to logic itself, and yet it is also the most radical act someone can commit. The human mind is the only place where pain does not bleed. It hides, clean and invisible, yet lethal. And maybe that is what makes it so dangerous. You can die from something nobody sees. The body screams when it is injured. Fever exposes it. Blood proves it. But when what rots is the thought itself, suffering disguises itself as normality. You keep answering messages, paying bills, smiling, and the more functional you look, the more others believe everything is fine. Psychiatrist Edwin Schneidman wrote that suicide is not a desire for death, it is the end of unbearable pain. That is the most precise sentence ever said on the subject. The problem was never wanting to die, it is not knowing how to live inside a body that hurts all the time. Psychic pain is not just emotion, it is a collapse of internal coherence. It is when the brain loses the ability to create meaning, when the future stops being a possibility and becomes a punishment. No one chooses this collapse, just like no one chooses a cardiac arrhythmia. Deep suffering is a disorder of perspective. Everything comes too close. Guilt, fear, memories, as if the world were compressing until there is no air left. There is no longer enough distance to breathe between thoughts. It is what David Foster Wallace called a mind on fire. You don't want to junk, but the fire pushes you. And still, from the outside, some call it weakness, as if someone in the middle of a fire should worry about the aesthetics of the flames. And here's what they don't fucking tell you. You're not depressed because something bad happened. You're depressed because you finally understood what's actually happening. You looked at the machinery of existence and saw that it's built on absolutely nothing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing one corner of the picture so clearly that everything else blurs. But whether this truth is universal or partial, it's real to the people who feel it, and that reality matters. Every morning you wake up and perform the same ritual: shower, eat, work, sleep, pretend you're building towards something. But you're not building towards anything. You're killing time until time kills you back. That's the deal. That's the only deal there ever was. Your parents lied to you. Your teachers lied to you. Every motivational speaker, every therapist, every self-help guru lied to you. They told you that if you just worked hard enough, if you just believed enough, if you just fixed yourself enough, life would make sense. But life doesn't make sense. It never did. It never will. And the moment you truly accept this, the moment it sinks into your bones, you realize you've been conned. You've been sold a story about meaning and purpose and destiny, and it's all bullshit. You know what the worst part is? You can't unsee it. Once you've glimpsed the void, once you've felt the ground disappear beneath your feet, you can never go back to the comfortable illusion. You're permanently awake now. You're living in a world where everyone else is sleepwalking, and you're the only one who can see that the building is on fire. And when you try to tell them, when you try to wake them up, they look at you like you're crazy. They tell you to see a therapist. They tell you to take your pills. They tell you to stop thinking so much. I don't have a monopoly on truth. Maybe therapy, meds, or small routines change everything for some people. My point is not to dismiss those paths, but to say this: for many, those remedies don't meet the depth of the ache. Maybe this clarity feels like diagnosis. Maybe from this vantage point, you appear to be the only healthy one, while others remain infected with illusion. But awareness does not make you superior, it makes you responsible. What you see may be real, or it may be what reality looks like through the lens of a collapsing brain. The distinction matters less than what you do with it. You're cursed with the ability to ask questions that have no answers. Why am I here? What's the point? Why does any of this matter? And the universe doesn't give a shit about your questions. It doesn't owe you answers. It doesn't owe you meaning. It doesn't owe you happiness or love or justice. The universe is a cold, dead machine that accidentally produced consciousness. And now you're trapped inside it, screaming into the void while the void stares back with complete indifference. Every single person you know is going to die. Your parents are going to die. Probably in pain, probably afraid, probably alone. Your friends are going to die. The person you love is going to die. You are going to die. And every memory of you will die. Every achievement, every moment of joy, every second of meaning you manage to scrape together will be erased completely. The sun will eventually swallow the earth, and every trace that humans ever existed will vanish like we were never here. And that's not pessimism, that's just physics. So what the fuck are you supposed to do with that information? How are you supposed to get out of bed knowing that everything you do today is fundamentally worthless? How are you supposed to care about your job or your relationship or your health when you know it's all just temporary distraction from the only truth that matters? Nothing lasts, nothing matters, and we're all going to die. Here's what nobody tells you. Most people never think about this. They go their entire lives without ever truly confronting the void. They stay busy, they stay distracted, they fill their days with tasks and goals and Netflix and social media and plans for the future. They have kids to distract themselves, they build careers to distract themselves, they buy things, travel places, accumulate experiences, anything to avoid sitting alone in a quiet room with their own thoughts. Because if they ever stopped moving, if they ever sat still long enough to feel the full weight of existence, they would collapse. But you can't stay distracted anymore. You've tried. God knows you've tried. You've worked, you've traveled, you've loved, you've achieved, and none of it filled the hole. Nothing fills the hole, because the hole is not a hole, it's the baseline. The emptiness is not an absence of meaning, it's the presence of truth. Or maybe it's the presence of something that feels like truth when you're this deep in the dark. Either way, it has weight. Either way, it changes you. You look at other people and you genuinely don't understand how they do it. How do they care about their promotion? How do they get excited about a new restaurant? How do they plan their retirement like they're going to live forever? Don't they know? Haven't they realized? And then you understand. They've chosen something. Whether it's a lie or a survival mechanism or simply a different interpretation of the same data, they've chosen to continue as if it matters. And maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's a form of wisdom you haven't accessed yet. Maybe their illusion is more functional than your clarity. Or maybe they're just better at pretending. You'll never know for sure, and that uncertainty alone is maddening. But you can't. You can't fake it anymore. You can't put on the mask and pretend you give a shit about small talk and career advancement and what's trending on social media. You can't pretend that any of this matters when you know, deep in your fucking bones, that it doesn't. And that makes you dangerous. Not to other people, but to yourself. Because a person who can't lie to themselves anymore is a person who has lost their primary survival mechanism. Every morning is a negotiation. Every morning you have to find a reason to get out of bed, and you're running out of reasons. You used to have goals, you used to have dreams, you used to believe that somewhere in the future there was a version of your life that would finally feel right. But you don't believe that anymore. You've seen too many futures dissolve. You've achieved goals and felt nothing. You've gotten the things you wanted and realized they were empty. And now you're here, in the present, with no future to believe in and no past to return to. Just this endless, suffocating now. And the people who love you, they're trying. They really are. They bring you their solutions: exercise, medication, therapy, meditation, journaling, positive thinking, and you want to scream at them. You want to grab them and shake them and make them understand that this is not a problem with a solution. This is not something you can fix with enough effort or the right technique. This is the fundamental condition of being a conscious creature in an unconscious universe. This is what it feels like to be awake. Or at least this is what you've come to believe wakefulness feels like. And belief, even bleak belief, has power. But you don't scream, you don't shake them. You just nod and say thank you and take their advice and pretend it's helping. Because what else can you do? Tell them the truth? Tell them that every night you lie awake wondering why you should bother waking up? Tell them that you've forgotten what it feels like to want something? Tell them that you're not sad, you're just done. You can't, because the moment you do, you become a problem that needs to be solved. You become a burden. So you perform. You get up, you shower, you go to work, you laugh at jokes, you answer texts, you maintain the appearance of someone who's okay, and meanwhile, inside, you're dissolving, you're disappearing, you're becoming a ghost inside your own life, watching yourself go through the motions while feeling nothing, meaning nothing, being nothing. Up to this point, awareness feels like the enemy. But this is where the mistake begins. No animal besides humans decides to die, and maybe that is what separates us from the rest of life, the ability to deny our own instinct to continue. Voluntary death is the most human gesture there is, and for that very reason, the most incomprehensible. Philosophy has always known this, but pretended not to. We talk about freedom, reason, purpose, as if humans were beings of pure decision. But the instant before the leap dismantles any theory of autonomy. There, thought does not think, it fragments. There is no subject, no calculation, only a pain that has lost its name. Nietzsche wrote that thinking too deeply is a danger to life. He was not romanticizing the abyss, he was warning. There is a depth beyond which thought stops being a tool and becomes poison. At that limit, time contracts, the past turns into weight, the future disappears, and the present, this microscopic instant, becomes a field of torture. It is there that many act, not by decision, but by collapse of continuity. The body merely executes what the mind can no longer sustain. Psychology calls it narrowed consciousness, a brutal constriction of the mental field. When impulse reaches the absolute, it stops being impulse and becomes destiny. The suicidal act is not the triumph of will, it is the demolition. It is the surrender of reason before reality. And here lies the supreme irony. Death, which seems the most deliberate human gesture, is almost always the most automatic. What we call decision is only the last reflex of a mind that can no longer find ground. Chirion was right. We don't kill ourselves out of cowardice, but out of habit. The body has routines. The body knows how to wake up, eat breakfast, brush teeth, and as long as the body keeps moving, the mind comes along for the ride, even when the mind has given up, even when the mind has stopped seeing a reason to continue. You're not living, you're just not dying yet. There's a difference. And here is where logic turns on itself. If nothing matters, if the universe is truly indifferent, if meaning is a human invention, if all goals are temporary distractions, then the demand that life must have meaning is also meaningless. The requirement that existence justify itself collapses under its own weight. You are not obligated to care. You are not obligated to find purpose. You are not obligated to make sense of any of this. And in that recognition, something shifts. Not hope, not meaning, but the removal of one more burden. If there is no cosmic purpose you're failing to fulfill, then you cannot fail. If there is no grand narrative you're supposed to be living through, then you cannot be living it wrong. The void that terrifies you is the same void that releases you from the need to fill it. This paradox doesn't resolve anything. It doesn't make the pain stop or the world make sense, but it does something more subtle. It removes the layer of suffering that comes from believing you should be suffering less. It removes the guilt of not being okay. It removes the pressure to find answers that don't exist, and sometimes that's enough. Sometimes the removal of unnecessary suffering is the only relief available. This is not salvation. This is not an answer. This is simply what happens when you stop demanding answers from a universe that never promised to provide them. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's all there is. Maybe the question isn't, why should I keep living, but why shouldn't I? And maybe the answer to that question is just as empty as everything else.
Maybe there's no good reason to die and no good reason to live, and in that perfect equilibrium of meaninglessness, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want, not because it matters, but because it doesn't. You want to know what courage really is? Courage is not overcoming your fear. Courage is continuing despite knowing the truth. Courage is getting out of bed when you know nothing you do today will matter tomorrow. Courage is loving someone when you know you're both going to die. Courage is building something when you know it will eventually crumble. Courage is caring about anything at all in a universe that doesn't care about you. And you have that courage. Whether you believe it or not, you have it. Because you're still here. You made it through yesterday and the day before and every other day when it would have been easier to stop. You're still breathing, you're still moving, you're still fighting a war nobody else can see. And that's not nothing, that's everything. Jean-Paul Sartre said that life begins on the other side of despair. The phrase sounds poetic, but it is a diagnosis. Only after everything seems to collapse can something new begin, because there is nothing left to lose. Ruin, in this sense, is the minimum condition of freedom. But the modern world has become a specialist in denying ruin. We turn suffering into a technical defect, as if sadness were a system error. You lose your job, reinvent yourself. You get sick, think positive. An entire society busy masking collapse. The result is a generation that feels guilty for not being okay, a new kind of despair, the despair of not being allowed to suffer.
Daily life is full of small opportunities. The wait in the doctor's office, the silence after a fight, the Sunday that seems endless. All those moments when time drags are invitations to consciousness. Wisdom is not the end of pain, but the ability to continue without reason. Meaning is not found, it is fabricated, and the work of fabricating it is done one day at a time. That is why one more day is not an optimistic slogan, it is a philosophical operation. Choosing to continue without guarantees, to go on living without promises or understanding. There is no great revelation waiting, only the simple act of remaining. It is not love that sustains the human being, it is belonging, the sense that somewhere in the world there is a place where your presence is not a burden. We are born without a map or manual, thrown into a world that did not ask for us. From then on, we spend our lives trying to prove we deserve to be here. Those who give up often do not collapse from lack of love, but from exhaustion of fighting to deserve it. And here begins the uncomfortable truth. No one kills themselves from excess pain, but from absence of shared meaning. When life loses its mirror, the self disappears. That is why isolation is a kind of slow death, an invisible amputation. Modernity, with its toxic independence, elevated isolation to the status of virtue. We call strength the act of enduring everything alone, but strength without witness is just suffering poorly disguised. Suicide grows in direct proportion to social isolation. What reduces pain is not solving the problem, but the presence of someone who listens. The human voice is the antidote to the abyss. There are others less visible supports as well. There is competence, the act of perceiving oneself as capable of acting upon the world. Despair is born when the individual no longer recognizes themselves as an agent, and the simple gesture of rebuilding something, fixing a drawer, cooking, writing, planting, restores the impression of existence. The third pillar is autonomy, not independence, but direction. Living without direction is the quietest hell there is. And recovering the power to choose, even something minimal, reinstates dignity. Even a prisoner can choose what to think inside a cell, and that choice, however small it seems, is a form of eternity. These three elements, bond, competence, and autonomy, are the beams that hold the psychic house. Remove one and the roof begins to collapse, but restore any one of them and the ground reappears. That is why the task of staying alive is less heroic than artisanal. It is not about faith or courage, it is about reconstruction. One gesture, one contact, one small decision. Philosophy only matters if it can fit into a body, and when life feels intolerable, thought must be practical. A human being standing is above all a human being in relation. Whoever has someone to talk to has somewhere to stay. Every human being is a survivor disguised as normality. On the outside, we continue with tasks, routines, automatic gestures.
On the inside, the structure is always under reconstruction, columns patched by decisions nobody sees. Life is, above all, an improvisation that worked. The truth is simple and cruel. There is no redemption, only continuity. There is no finish line. There is only the blind movement of those who insist. And that insistence, however banal it seems, is the foundation of all greatness. Every attempt to end pain is an attempt to end time, but time, that silent adversary, always wins. It erodes, erases, transforms, and paradoxically, it is this slow destruction that heals. What is unbearable today becomes memory tomorrow, and the day after, merely form. The human mind does not overcome, it reorganizes. Suffering, when it survives, changes function, stops wounding, and starts instructing. The crack is not a defect, it is a method. It is the flaw that allows readjustment, the place where the new enters, the contact between what we were and what we can still be. To deny the crack is to deny humanity itself. Those who try to live without failing live only halfway. Modern civilization, obsessed with efficiency, forgot this truth. We want linear lives without breaks, pauses, or sadness. But what does not break does not change, and what does not change rots. Depression, guilt, despair, all these are languages of the soul trying to warn that something within us needs to be redone. Collapse is a form of communication. The meaning of life is not a place to reach, but a relation to sustain. It is built in conversation, in task, in work, in attention. It is the dog that recognizes you, the friend who replies, the text that saves you for one night. It is tiny, almost invisible, but it is enough, because meaning does not need to be eternal, it only needs to last until tomorrow. And when tomorrow arrives, you rebuild it again. That is the trick, not to seek permanence, but return. The true hero is not the one who defeats pain, but the one who reappears after it. Everything said here converges into a single law. Existence is made of flaws, and flaws are the price of consciousness. To be human is to bear the crack without being completely broken by it. To understand that fragility is not the opposite of strength, but its condition a possibility. That is why suffering is not a system error, but the very engine of becoming. It is the force that tears and the force that pushes. Pain is the hammer that sculpts being. Without it, there is no depth, no otherness, no form. The Japanese art of kintsugi repairs broken ceramics with gold, turning fractures into ornament. The repaired vessel does not hide the damage, it makes it precious. This is what happens to a mind that survives its own collapse. You are not broken, you are under construction, and every living work is imperfect. The crack is the signature of existence. As Sioran wrote, life is bearable only insofar as we do not give it meaning, and it is precisely in this void, in this unexplained interval, that something sacred happens. The simple fact of being here, now, breathing against all odds. Light does not enter despite the crack, it enters because of it. You made it this far. That already says something. If this reached you, if something was articulated here that rarely gets spoken aloud, then continuation becomes a choice with weight. Not consumption, not agreement, but participation in the act of sustaining spaces where truth is not softened. Becoming a channel member is the most direct form of that participation. It finances this work and grants access to deeper material, reflections that go further than what can be said publicly. And if you seek immersion rather than observation, pessimistic philosophy, the lucid darkness, exists for those with the nerve to confront the absurd without blinking. It is not instruction, it is confrontation. The link is in the description. Super thanks remains enabled for those who prefer singular gestures of support. And if you do nothing but watch, comment honestly, or share this with someone who needs to hear it, that too is participation. Silence can be sustaining when it is the right kind of silence. This channel exists for those who refuse to flee from life even when it makes no sense. If you are here, you carry that refusal. It is not hope, it is not faith, it is something harder and more durable. The work continues whether it is supported or not. Support only determines how far it reaches.